Here we go. I'm so excited. Oh my goodness. I'm going to just make sure all the techie stuff is working. It's working. We are live. We are ready to go. We're rocking and rolling. Say hello in the comments so I can see you and I'm just really, really excited to be here. I'm feeling a little nervous, you guys. I feel like it's been so long since I've shared my story like to this level that I'm feeling a little bit nervous. So give me some support, some love, because I know that God has been calling me to share this message with you for several months now. He is like, girlfriend, get back out there, tell your story because someone needs to hear it today. Today, they need to hear this, and it just may change everything like it changed me. And I'm going to share with you a little bit at the end of today, kind of the secret sauce as to why it changed me, but you're going to have to wait until the very end. And so a little housekeeping as we get started. I just want to remind you, first of all, my name is Shauna. A lot of people know me by Ruby K. That's a story for another day, but the Lord needed me to go incognito for a little while and come up with a rock star name. But now I have been freed of that and I can go back by my legal name, which is Shauna. But if you call me Ruby K and that's how you know me, I love it. Like I said, it's like my rock star name. It's like, going by Pink or something. So anyway, my name is Shauna and I'm excited to share my story with you. I want to remind you, as it says in this group anyway, I am not a doctor. I'm not here to diagnose, cure, treat any diseases. I am just a person sharing my story of what God did for me. And so I'm not making any claims, any radical claims, but I pray that something you hear today will absolutely shift you in your health, your life, your relationships, your finances, your addiction, whatever it may be. Because again, this is not just about listening to me. This is not about me at all. This is about you. This is about your story. This is about your purpose. This is about your calling that you are still playing small in, my friend. You are still playing small. And I'm going to get a little teary-eyed because I feel God has more for you. And that is why He's called me to tell you that today. Tell you that. Okay. And it's not for any reason that I want to be on here for me. In fact, I have been fighting God like Jonah going to Nineveh for 6 years in stepping forward and sharing this with you because I don't want this to be about me. I don't want it to be you just listening to me. I am on here because I'm humbling myself and getting back out and sharing my story because for some reason, God has a message for you in this. It is all about you in this. And so I don't really want to be here. I was messaging some of my best girlfriends and I was like, I'm feeling nervous. And that's not like me, but I honestly would rather be playing Wordle. But God's like, nope, you have a word to share. So here we are. So here's kind of how it began for me. Back in 2012, so this is 11 years ago, I was in a bad spot in my health. Okay. In my health, I was in a bad spot. At about the age of 15, I first started feeling some symptoms. And at the age of 18 was my first hospitalization where literally my body just shut down. I refused to get official diagnostics done because I did not want to be labeled as something like that. I knew that would mess with my head if they said you have this. So I was like, la. I don't want to know. And I actually, at the age of 18, I walked myself out of the hospital after a week of being in there before they officially diagnosed me with things because I was done. I didn't want to know. I was done being pumped full of medications. And at that time, I made the decision to look at natural, holistic ways of supporting my body, supporting the temple, my body that God gave me. How can I give it what it's looking for instead of covering or putting Band-Aids over what the symptoms are? That was my thinking at the young age of 18. And I stuck to that forever. I still stick to that to this day. I am not on any medications. I'm not saying that to impress you. I'm saying that to impress upon you that maybe there are other ways that God is using our bodies that we can be supported naturally. And we can look at an emotional, a physical, a spiritual connection in living our best life. So in 2012, fast forward, I was about the age of 35. 34. I'm giving away my age. right now, but I had gone through another massive flare up. My kids were little. I had been hospitalized a few years prior to that. I was in quarantine. That was before people even like knew what it felt like to be in quarantine. Now we all know that. But at that time, I was literally in one of the box rooms in the hospital where people had to put on a full suit to come and be with me, and no one could touch me skin on skin. That really impacted me back then. And now people, unfortunately, a lot of people know what that feels like, and it's not fun. So in 2012, I was having another bad flare up, and I had at that point now gotten diagnosis when I was in the hospital and quarantined and all that. I said, I guess I better know what this is. So I had everything from mixed connective tissue disease, sweet syndrome, systemic lupus, dermatomyositis, scleroderma, Sjogren's, Raynaud's, endometriosis, you name it. Like, I was a hot mess of autoimmune crap. A hot mess of autoimmune stuff. And I was not well. I would have ulcers lining down my throat the size of nickels. I had hives and rashes all the time. My joints hurt. Everything was a mess. I was a hot mess. And so I remember not being able to walk my son to kindergarten, which literally from my backyard, I could see the school that he attended kindergarten. And so all I had to do was walk out of our cul-de-sac and get him across the street. But I was in so much pain. I could only get down the cul-de-sac, and then I'd have to like look at the crossing guard and say, you got him? Because I can't walk that far. And I went back and I laid down on my couch and I just wept. I wept and wept. And I then fell asleep. And then I forgot to pick him up because I crashed out so hard, and I wept some more. And I thought, oh my gosh, I am failing as a mother, failing as a mother. That's how I felt. And so that night I cried out to God after I put the kids to bed, and I literally was on the living room floor. And I said, God, I can't do this anymore. I am failing my children. They don't deserve this. My husband doesn't deserve this. I'm no good to anyone. I'm a burden on everyone. And I just feel like, please, 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 either take me home, like just let these diseases finish me off and do it quick, right? Because I don't want to be suffering like this anymore. So just let it take me out, or figure out a way to heal me, miraculously heal me. And if you miraculously heal me, Lord, I will tell everyone you put in front of me my story of what you did for me. So I woke up the next morning after sobbing and crying out this big, scary, audacious prayer of like, either take me home or miraculously heal me. So I'm lying in bed and I wake up and I'm thinking, he did not heal me, nor did he take me home. And I'm thinking to myself, everything hurts. This sucks. It sucks so bad. You guys, I know you've been there too. I know you've seen the darkest of dark places. This was that darkest of dark place for me. I didn't know how I was going to get out of bed. The pain was enormous. I just didn't feel functional. I didn't feel purposeful. I didn't feel helpful. If you have seen those darkest places, put a 1 in the comments. I want to know who you are, because I want to pray over you. I want to celebrate you if you're out of those dark places. If you're there now, I'm there with you. I mean, I'm not in a dark place right now, but my heart is crying out for you. And so put a 1 in the comments if you've seen or been to a dark place in your life. This was a dark place for me. And I'm lying in bed thinking, everything hurts. I cannot even get up and go to the bathroom because it is going to be so painful that I just can't do it. And suddenly, while I'm lying in bed debating on how I was going to get up and go to the bathroom, God spoke to me, and he's like, you know what, Shauna, take captive that thought right now. You just said everything hurts. And he's like, is that really truth? Because God is a God of truth. Truth. We're going to talk a lot about that over the next couple of days. And he's like, that word everything, like really everything hurts? That's a big word. Are you really looking at it from a God perspective, or are you looking at from a pity perspective? Are you looking at it from the perspective of focusing on your problem, or can you start to focus on a promise? And as I sat there thinking, feeling convicted, gosh, the word everything is pretty dramatic. It's really dramatic. So I thought, okay, all right, not everything hurts. Not everything. What can I find on me that doesn't hurt? A lot of you guys may have heard this story before, because that's likely why you're in this group. But if you haven't, this is what changed everything. So I lied there actually in the bed, and I kind of did like a body scan. And I was like, my fingers hurt, my feet hurt, my hips hurt, my knees hurt. Oh, everything hurts. My jaw hurt. Like everything hurts. No, 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 no. And then I was like, okay, wait. Stop it already. Stop it already. My nose didn't hurt. And then I thought, okay, I have a nose. Not everybody actually has a nose. I've seen pictures and it makes my heart sad. And I have a nose. If you have a nose and you're watching this video right now, put nose in the comments. I'm hoping that all of you have a nose. So let me know that you have a nose. Because the next step of that was like, all of a sudden I thought, that's cool, and my nose doesn't hurt. It wasn't in pain. Like, I mean, how often do you have like your nose? Maybe if you got hit in the nose, it would hurt. It would be painful. But my nose was not in pain as I was lying in bed. I didn't get hurt, whatever. And then I sat there and I was like, okay, all right, I can breathe out of my nose. Not everybody can breathe out of their nose. My son has had so many football injuries to his nose. He literally has 10% passageway on one side, and the other side is like chronically stuffed up. So he's always like, he's 16, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, Waylon. And so he does not breathe well out of his nose. And I was like, today I can breathe well out of my nose. It's not congested. It feels good. And I started to like slowly shift into this place from like everything hurts to this place of like, I have a nose and I can breathe. And then I thought, and I can smell. I can smell out of my nose. Not everybody has a sense of smell. I have a business in the essential oil world, and we're going to talk about this later too, about how the power of aroma can really change things up in your amygdala, in the brain. And your sense of smell has superpowers in your body, like legit superpowers. And a lot of you guys probably learned that if you got the virus and lost your sense of smell. Some of you lost it for a couple days. Some of you may have lost it for months. I am so curious if you now recognize what an awesome thing it is to be able to smell. Put smell in the comments if you're like, yes, I love to be able to smell. Some of you may still be suffering that you can't smell after getting that virus. And so that day, this was long before any of this virus stuff was around. That day, I was lying in bed thinking, my nose doesn't hurt. I can breathe out of my nose. I can smell from my nose. I'm okay. You know what? I'm going to focus on my nose. I'm not going to focus on the other millions of areas that I could focus on that are problem areas. I'm going to focus on my nose. And so I was like, okay, Shauna, I got out of bed and I took a step off the bed and I was like, oh, nope, not everything hurts. Not everything hurts. Stop that right now. Focus on your nose. My nose. And I'm walking to the bathroom like, my nose, I love my nose. I can breathe out of my nose. I can smell out of my nose. And I'm just thinking, this is where I want to stay, because I could feel a shift in me. I could literally feel a shift in me when I would shift into the problem and focusing on all of that, or I could shift into, not that the problem didn't still exist. Oh, it existed. It still existed. But I was shifting my focus onto something that wasn't so doom and gloom. Okay. And so the rest of the day, I just kept repeating to myself, focus on your nose, focus on your nose, focus on your nose. Did it still hurt when I had to go pick up my son from school? Yes, it did. But I focused on my nose and I gave glory to God that I had a nose and I could smell and I could breathe. The next day, I woke up again from bed and I thought, oh, he did not miraculously heal me. Everything still hurts. And I was like, no, not everything. Focus on your nose. And then I added to it, you know what? My ears don't hurt. And I'm a piano player. So that is super important to me. Not only that they physically didn't hurt. I mean, how often do your ears hurt? But that I could hear. And not everybody has that ability. One of my daughter's very best friends is losing her hearing right now since she was a kid, but it's getting really bad, really, really bad. It's to the point where she's almost going to be completely deaf here within maybe the next year or two. And as an 18-year-old, that's a tough road. And my heart just cries out for her, because I thought, oh, if I couldn't hear music, if I couldn't hear my kids laughing, if I couldn't hear my dog speaking to me, what would that mean? So I was like, I'm so grateful I have ears. Not everybody has ears. And I'm so grateful I can hear. Not everybody can hear. I've got a nose, I've got ears, and I started again to shift from the problem to these wonderful things that God has given me that I wasn't focusing on. The next day, I added to it my hair. Not everybody has hair. I have hair. I don't have a lot of hair. Ask Angie. she was my hairdresser for a long time. Well, still, and I have like this much hair when you put it all together. It's very little, but I have hair. I'm okay with my hair, and it doesn't hurt. You can do all kinds of stuff. You can cut your hair, and it doesn't hurt. Lord, I'm so grateful for that. Could you imagine if it hurt when you got your hair cut? That would not be fun. So I started again to focus on my nose, my ears, my hair. And day after day, I just continually woke up, take captive my thought from everything hurts to like, no, that's false. That is not truth. And God is a God of truth. And I was telling myself a big lie that everything hurt. And that's not true. Was there pain? Yes. Yes. Was I hurting? Yes. Was I sad? Yes. But I was also grateful. I also had no pain in some areas. And I could feel the shift happen every time I take captive that thought and move it into a space that wasn't in the doom and gloom, that wasn't in the problem, but it was in what I now know was the promise. And within a year's time, God gave me some other tools because as I stopped focusing so much, I was so consumed in the problem, I was like not even seeing other solutions. I wasn't seeing it because I was in 100% survival mode. That's what happens, you guys. Our bodies do that, and I honor that too. They go into 100% survival mode where all you can think about is how this problem is and how do you correct it? How do you correct it? But you can't openly see it because you're so focused on the problem. And so as I learned to not focus on the problem, God was able to make space. This was making space for me to have other solutions come into my hand where God was like, I'm going to teach you about meditation. And I was like, meditation? Oh, I was raised a conservative Baptist girl. Meditation was for the people that had to shave their head and sit on the mountain and go, God's like, did you read my Bible? Did you read my word? Let's go back and look at what meditation really is. I'm the owner of meditation. He said, I came up with meditation. Look at what biblical meditation is going to do for you. And I've learned how to meditate in God's way. And I meditated and I filled my soul with the verse, be still and know that I'm God. Be still and know that I am God. And sometimes we get so consumed by the problem and survival mode and all our circumstances and all this stuff happening. He's like, take captive your thoughts, sister, daughter, friend. Take captive that thought. Be still and know that I am God. Focus on things that I've given to you and that are not in pain and all of that. There is a purpose for all of this. And so over the next year, I was open now. I had open space to receive new ways of healing, new ways of finding gratitude, new ways of learning how to shift my thoughts into a place that was not focused on that problem and into focusing on a promise. Now, I expected God to miraculously heal me overnight. I was like, heal me or take me home. Like, you got one day to do it, God, one day. He's like, no, I'm going to need you around quite a bit longer than that. So it took about a year. And within about a year's time, I was 99% symptom free. I'm not even kidding you. The pain had gone away. I, to this day, have no pain in my knuckles. I used to have those big old bumps in my hands, like the calcium deposits and stuff. I used to drink gelatin every morning just to help my joints because I'm playing piano or whatever. I have zero pain in my hands. It's like I don't know if the arthritis is gone, but I don't feel it. And my hands, after so many years, are, they don't look all wonky or anything. So within a year's time, I was 99% symptom free. The only one I'm still working on, the Lord healing, is one called Raynaud's. In fact, you can see it right now. Look at that middle finger. You can see it's purple. My kids often are like, what happened to your hands? They're used to it by now, but it gets really, really black purple. I still have some circulation stuff I'm like praying to God for help with as far as that. So back that year, I was 99% symptom free, except for that Raynaud's. That little sucker keeps hanging around for some reason. And so then I lived 5 years in that symptom-free state, other than the Raynaud's. And I was living my best life. And God's like, hey, want to tell my story? Want to tell your story? Want to talk about what you did here? And I was like, I don't know. It's so weird. Like, how do people like think that focusing on your nose could change their life? He's like, you need to tell your story. And I actually got asked to speak and tell my story at a couple women's retreats from close friends that knew my story. And I was like, no, I don't want to speak. I don't want to say it out loud. What if, my younger brother, actually, he did not believe my story fully. And he's like, what if tomorrow everything is broken again? Everything hurts. And I said, well, you know what? If tomorrow that's the case, then that's the case tomorrow. I'll deal with that tomorrow. But today I feel awesome. Today is what I'm focusing on, the present and the now. And today I feel good. If tomorrow, I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. None of us know what tomorrow is going to bring. All I can do is focus on what I can focus on today. And so I was afraid to tell my story. It took me actually a couple of years to start to open up, because I was like, oh, how will I say this? And then if I am sick again, then they won't believe that it works. And then who am I to say anything? So I kind of, it took me some time to really start to share openly with a few people more and more about focus on your nose, because it's weird, right? And then a trauma happened in my life in 2017. So it put me into a state of shock. And it was something completely out of my control. And I understand that. It was, a circumstance that it just was what it was. But it hurt and crushed me so deeply that my autoimmune stuff crept back in. And I got back into a deep, dark spot, a really deep, dark spot. And the symptoms came back in different ways this time. Different symptoms came back. And then I was like, now I'm not going to share my story at all. Who am I to say, health and wellness and live your best life when I am a mess again? So I say that part because it may look like this. We have seasons. We have, even the Bible talks about the peaks and the valleys. We're going to have those valleys where it's dark and it's deep and it's ugly. And I've been in that valley suffering with these autoimmune issues again for several years. And I didn't want to tell my story. So I've been silent with my story. I have not been active in sharing the 4 words, focus on your nose, that literally changed my life. And I'm like, they're not changing my life right now. I don't want to focus on my nose. And so a few months ago, I've been listening to some different speakers and different things online, and God was nudging me. He's like, you have to get back out and share your story. I'm like, why? I don't want to. I don't feel good. Who am I to say it? I'm still struggling with these autoimmune diseases. I still feel like I'm not in a deep, dark, or I'm in a deep, dark spot. Like, I don't feel like I'm like living my best life. I don't want to do that. Like, I'm totally hiding. And here's what he has been saying to me. And I want you to hear this so clearly, is because in the midst of the deepest, darkest spots is when we need it the most. And he's like, you cannot say that to others unless you know what that feels like. And so he was saying to me, you've got to step out on faith. You have to let go of the control. You've got to let go of the pride, or whatever it is that you're holding on to that's keeping you from living how I wanted you to live and fulfilling your calling. You've got to step out now. This is the time to get out of the boat when you're in the midst of the storm. If you know that story from Mark in the Bible, it was like Jesus was walking towards him, and he gets out of the boat in the midst of the storm. It wasn't calm waters. It wasn't frozen lake where he's like, I could walk on the water. It's ice. Nope. It was waves crashing. It was in the midst of the storm when God said, this is your time. This is your time. So a lot of you put in the comments earlier that you had a 1, which was you have either felt or are in a deep, dark place in your life. This is the time when it's the hardest. I did a presentation a couple years ago called Gratitude Stinks. And the reason I called it that is because I was preaching to my own self of like, when it's the hardest, when everything about you wants to be suffocated by those problems and living in your pity and living in that world, that identity of, you don't know my story, Shauna. You don't know my level of pain. You don't know my diagnosis. You don't know what so-and-so did to me when I was a kid. You don't know what my relationship looks like. You don't know my financial status. You don't know how bad it is for me. When you are in the midst of that pain, the biggest storm of your life is when God is pulling you out of the boat and saying, you have to trust me now. This is the time. This is the time. You have lost that identity because you're so wrapped up and consumed into all of this story. And he's like, that's not your story. That's not who I created you to be. You were made for a purpose. You were made for a calling. You were made to help other people. But you're such in survival mode that all you can do is survive in your own self. And he's like, there are people waiting for you. I want to use your story to help others around you, whether it be your kids watching you suffering in your addiction, whether it be that you're closing yourself off in your room and your kids are the ones that need you to show up. Maybe it's your kids. Maybe it's your workplace. Maybe it's your church where they're like, we're waiting for you to show up. And so the next 3 days of this focus boot camp is we're going to learn how to stop focusing on the problem and focus on God's promise of who he created you in the world to be. Your circumstances may not change, but your focus can. Your focus can change, because the way that I see it is my circumstances have not been great over the last 5-6 years. I had the trauma, then I had another trauma, then I had another trauma, and then the world shut down. And so all of these things are happening, but I have a choice to make. I can either say they are happening to me or they're happening for me. They are happening to me or they are happening for me, so that I can recognize the storm and I can recognize that God has in me something more powerful than just a storm. So he has called me out of the boat the last couple months. And I'm telling you, I was procrastinating and procrastinating and procrastinating. And I was like, God, I don't want to get on Facebook. I don't want to tell everybody. I don't want to put emails out there. I don't want to put text messages out there. I don't want to put myself out there. What if they reject me? What if this isn't? What if they're mad at me? What if they judge me? Blah, 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 blah. And he's like, Shauna, I don't care. It's not about you. Like, you got to let that go. You got to let that go. I put into you an identity that is rooted in Christ, that I created you from your mother's womb, that's unique and special, a calling, a purpose, place. And when you are out of alignment with the assignment that he created you for, then dis-ease happens. Dis-ease meaning depression, anxiety, physical illness, sadness, relationships, anger, frustration, debt. Dis-ease happens when you're living in that problem. So I'm called to tell you today, it's time to step out of the boat. I know it's the hardest time. I know it is when it's in the storm. Who wants to do that? I didn't want to do it, and I still didn't want to do it. But this is the time to step up. This is the time to show up. All right. You may be like, but I don't have some big calling in my life. Do you feel that way? You're like, I don't know what my purpose is. What am I supposed to show up for? We're going to discover that over the next couple days, because God has uniquely designed you for something. You may have put your toe in the water with it before and been like, oh, wow, I'm really good at that. And you may have gotten compliments being like, you are such a great helper. You are such a creative. You are such a powerful speaker. You are such a, whatever, fill in the blanks. And where somebody complimented you and you're like, oh, I guess, thank you, I am. You have a way to put fashion together like I've never seen before. You're so great at X, Y, Z. And then we get lost in our problems and our storms and we forget who we are. So I'd mentioned to you that at the beginning of this video, there was kind of a secret sauce to my turning and my praying and crying out to God for help in 2012. And the secret sauce is a guy named Paul Chek. Paul Chek is somebody who I've never met, never probably will meet. I don't know. All I know is a few months prior to me crying out this prayer to God, my husband was in our garage working out, and he had a men's fitness magazine. And in a small corner of the men's fitness magazine, some page inside, like page 12, I don't know, small corner, there was this little promotion that said, "The cure is you." And it was to order a DVD for, I think, $7 at the time. And it was like mail order, right? Or I think I could go on the website and actually order it. But this is so much before even smartphones were around. And so my husband brought this magazine into me, and he said, "Read this article about the cure is you." Like, this person is claiming that we can make a big change in the midst of what our circumstances might be. And maybe this will help you with your autoimmune stuff. And I was like, I don't know. So I ordered this DVD. And this DVD basically gave me the exact message in a non-Christian form, but gave me this message of, like, you have a choice of where you're focusing and how your life is being played out. Now, this person, Paul Check, literally was claiming I would be cured if I just thought differently. All I had to do was change my thoughts and I would be cured. So this really upset me. It pissed me off. So I called the company. I called up the 800 number, and I was like, "Excuse me, I need to talk to Paul Check, please." And the woman answers the phone. She's like, "Paul Check's not available. How may I help you? I'm his partner in business." And I was like, "Okay, here's the deal. I just watched your DVD, and you just said that if I changed my thoughts, I would be cured of my diseases." She goes, "Yes, that's what we said." And I go, "Okay, let me list off what I have for you. Sweet syndrome, blah, Sjogren's, blah, 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 all these diseases." And she's like, "So?" I go, "I can't just think my way out of them. I didn't even know what they were to think my way into them." Can you relate to that? We're like, I would never choose this. I would never choose a poor relationship, financial debt. I would never choose these things. And she's like, "But you are." I was like, "Oh, now I'm mad. Now I'm mad." And I think I probably yelled at her a little bit, which I'm not a big, I don't get angry, but it really hit a spot for me. And I was like, "You can't tell me that I'm choosing this, number one. And you can't tell me, number two, that I can choose my way out of it. You have no idea what I'm dealing with. You don't know my story." That's what I said. And I hung up the phone. I tell you that part of it because whenever you're listening to someone and it ruffles your feathers a little bit and it makes you kind of go, "Shauna, you don't know what the heck you're talking about. Maybe that worked for you. It's not going to work for me." And if you're starting to feel a little heated or some doubt or some shame or some guilt or those dark, icky, yucky feelings, that's when you really need to pay attention the most. And that's when you put the faith out there and you step out of the boat. Those are the times. And that planted a seed in my head that day when I got off the phone with her. It planted a seed that said, what if? What if? What if I could actually change what I was focusing on and it could make a difference in my life? What if? And I remember thinking, it can't get any worse. I'm at the lowest of low of low. It's not going to make me any worse. Could it make me better? Maybe it's worth a try. So that was what captured my attention that morning when I said, focus on your nose. I took captive my thoughts and I started to change from the problem, and I changed and shifted my thoughts into a state of gratitude. That's what shifted it. And it literally worked. It literally worked. So I come to you today because I'm a friend in the boat with you. I've been in the storm. All of us have been in a storm. These last couple of years have been a shit storm. Pardon my language. I hate cussing. I really do. But what if we change that word and we said it's a shift storm? What if we said it's a shift storm because God is ready to shift you out of your comfort zone of being in the boat, and it's your time to step out on the water on faith? He's got you. We just have to discover the courage to be able to do it. And so I come alongside of you because this today, my friend, is my courage of stepping out on the boat. I didn't want to do this, but I'm stepping out of the boat today, and I need you as much as you need me. Literally, I need you as much as you need me, because you don't know my full story either. You don't know my full story. You don't know that my legs don't work very well right now, that I'm half paralyzed. You don't know that unless I tell you, because you wouldn't see it from me sitting here. Okay. You don't know my story, friend, and I need you as much as you need me to get out of the boat with me and link arms, because we have to do it together. God's got us, but he also calls us in community. And so I need you just as much as you need me right now. So I'm grateful and I appreciate the love and support. You guys are so awesome. And I'm so grateful for you guys. Okay, couple of cool things I want to share with you. Number one, if you printed out your workbook, this is one of my absolute favorite quotes by a woman named Marianne Williamson. She says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? I have a calling put on my heart to help people shine. I really do. It almost pains me in a good way that I want nothing more than to see you light up. I love that light power, and you can see it in people. You can see when they are lit up for life, and you can see when they are in a dark spot. And I have this passion to drive that light out of people and to drive that light out of you. It's hard when you don't feel like you're being the light yourself. But that's why I say we're doing this together, because who are we to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented? We are daughters of the Most High God, and he's calling us to do that. He's calling us to be back into that light, find your identity, find your talent, find your purpose, find that gorgeousness back inside of you, and focus in that direction. That's what this next couple days is about, finding that light. The workbook, there's a link. If you go up through the comments, Angie put a link in there that you can go to print out the workbook. A couple other verses, and we can paste it again in there for you. Couple other things. Your homework today is going to be about learning how to take captive your thoughts. Most of us go along in life, especially when we're in survival mode. It is the hardest time when you're in a storm or in survival mode. So I pray that you're not, but if you are, this is the hardest time to really take captive those thoughts and to be aware of what you are focusing on. What are you focusing on? So in 2 Corinthians 10:5, it says, we demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up for the knowledge of God. We take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. 2 Corinthians 10:5. So you have to ask yourself, when you're looking at your thought, like I was, and I felt like I had like a voice here and a voice here, everything hurts. And I had this voice saying, literally everything hurts, like I'm in a lot of pain. And then I had another voice saying, everything, that's a really big, bold word. Everything means like everything, and not everything hurts. So take captive that thought. What is the truth? What would be obedient in your thinking? What is the argument that you're telling yourself? Even right now, as you're listening to this, you don't know my story, Shauna. You don't know my story. This is the argument. I know, because I have it in my own head too. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Romans 12:2. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on your gifts, your talents, your light, your brilliance, your gorgeousness? Are you focusing on the problems, the circumstances, the pain? Those circumstances are not going to get any better. What if they get worse? What if they get worse and they're out of your control? What you have control over is where you're focusing. What are you focusing on? So today we're going to practice flexing our gratitude muscle, taking captive our thoughts. Take captive your thoughts and flex the gratitude muscle. This is literally a muscle. We can get into this more later, but as neuron pathways start to fire in your brain, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel a shift because your brain's going to be on autopilot in the problem, and you're going to go, whoop, and you're going to go, I'm going to create a new neuron pathway over here. And so, zip, 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 like tuning into a new radio station. You've probably been hearing for far too long. It's time to just dial it up a little bit. Dial it up and hear the right frequency radio station for you. And then you got to stay there. Don't let it go back down. You got to continually like get it back into tune, or like what I say, get it into alignment so you can hear your assignment. You can live your assignment. If you're living in chaos, you're not living your assignment. And there's people out there that need you like you need me. There are people out there that need to hear this story today. So we're going to take captive our thoughts. In your workbook, the day one homework is, if you could cry out to God right now and ask him for a miracle. So put yourself back like I did in 2012, February 2012, where I was humbling myself, bawling my eyes out on my living room floor. God, I need a miracle. And the miracle might mean take me home because I'm done with this life, or it might mean I need to completely reframe everything. I've got to shift. I got to heal. If you could heal in some direction of your life, what would that look like for you? What would you cry out for him right now? And I want you to keep it personal to you, because other people in your family, your friend group, that's for them. Okay. So you might be saying, oh, if only my son could get out of his addiction. You know what? That circumstance may not change. And I hate that as much as you do. But this is not about them. This is about what changes in you. And how can that circumstance be for you and not to you? How can you reframe and renew your mind in the midst of that circumstance and say, what talents and gifts and offerings, and how can I serve my son like no one else can serve him in this time of need? That's where we want to focus. That's where we want to focus. So please be saying, if it's a miracle in 30 days, I want this to happen. It needs to happen about you, not about, Uncle Joe who has cancer. You need to pray for a miracle in your heart and ask for those seeds to be planted so that you may follow and you may water them and you may open and have space for renewing and for healing. So in the homework, in the workbook, it says in 30 days, and I give you some time to or I give you 4 options, 4 little dots where you can write down a couple of things. What are some areas that you would love to have a miracle in your life? Maybe you have been dealing with an addiction. Maybe you have been dealing with anger. Maybe you have been dealing with an autoimmune issue. Maybe you have been dealing with a broken marriage. Maybe you have been dealing with isolation. Maybe you have been dealing with grief. Maybe you have been dealing with fill in the blank. Write some of those things down and then pray over what God would have you see in the midst of those. Over the next 60 days, what would you like to have happen? What kind of miracle would you be crying out for over the next 90 days? Because again, mine didn't happen overnight. It might for you. It might for you. He may say, pick up your mat and start walking. You're good to go. Your faith has healed you. You might touch the robe and you're good. The bleeding has stopped. If you know these stories from the Bible, he might say that. It might be instantaneous for you. And Lord Jesus, I pray that it is, because going through a longer process can be hard. But being instantaneously healed, we're going to talk about this more tomorrow, can be also difficult when he starts to change you and you've got to live that right then and there. We're going to talk about tomorrow what it looks like when you start to change, when you start to be healed, renewed, and the people around you don't understand it. And you're like, oh, wait. And if you're a people pleaser or if afraid of rejection or whatever, it can be really hard because you have created an identity that everyone in your circle, they know that identity too. So it's not only going to affect you, but everyone else around you is going to go, whoa, what? Like my younger brother, who's like, tomorrow, what if you go back into that old identity of being sick and gross and da, 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 da. Well, then that's the case tomorrow. Because he almost wanted, of course he wants me to be well, but I think he didn't know how to understand what was happening to me. That was out of his comfort zone to see me changing. So we're going to go into that more. So 30, 60, 90 days, what would that look like? What miracle would you pray for? Simple, difficult? I don't know. Take some time and pray about it. Take some time and just look into that. And then today, practice that gratitude muscle. What can you focus on today? So let's get in the comments here for a minute as we wrap up our session. Let's get in the comments. What are you going to focus on today that's going to snap you into a state of gratitude? And if you want to use focus on your nose, please do that. That's why God gave it to me. Please do that. So what can you say today that you can switch into gratitude, from focusing on the problem to focusing on the promise, from focusing on the mess to focusing on the message, from focusing on the test to focusing on the testimony? You guys have probably heard a lot of these sayings before, because it matters. It's different. So focus on what? What are you going to focus on today? Put it in the comments. Today, I'm going to focus on my whatever. It could have nothing to do with the miracle you're praying for too. So let's say you're like, I'm in a hot mess of debt. You know what? That circumstance might be very well true. You can either stay and wallow in that, or you can say, but I have amazing children. I'm going to focus on how blessed I am in a non-monetary way. I have amazing, healthy children. I'm going to focus on my children today. What are you going to focus on today? What are you going to give gratitude for? We'll practice, and we're going to flex the gratitude muscle. Whew. How was that for you guys? Did you get something out of it? Did you get something out of it? Give me some hearts. Give me some yes, 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 yes. Amen. Give me something. Whew, because I'm pouring myself out to you guys right now, and it's not an easy thing to do. Focus on your breath. Focus on blessings. I love it. I love it. To work at home. Yes, yes, yes. These are great comments, you guys. These are amazing. Such good ones. So here's the deal. For some of you, you bought into being a VIP. It was only $17. It's $17 if you want to join in. Why do I charge $17? Kind of a stupid number, right? Maybe because when you pay attention. So I'm going to jump into a private Zoom room with any of our VIPs, and you can still join in. Just go to that link that Angie posted earlier. You can jump in the VIP. It's not too late. You can even jump in on the third day, because you may have some questions. You may have some thoughts you want to process with me. You may want to tell me your story. You may want to say, like, I need to say what's happening in my life. You might need a friend right now, okay? And that's what that VIP time is for. And again, the reason it's $17 is because when you pay attention, you'll show up. It's easy. It's easy, like we talked about, to sit back and listen and, oh, that was such a great story. Good job for you. It's a whole nother level when you step out of the freaking boat. It's a whole nother level when you step out of the boat. So I'm asking you to have some courage, step out of the boat and get into the VIP session with us. Not for my benefit, because I'm going to be like, whew, I want to go lay down after this. But for your benefit, to say, I know I've got to step out and do something. And you may not be in a dark spot. You might be like living your best life, but God's calling you to a higher level. And that might make you go, am I ready? Am I ready? Am I ready? I want to be your cheerleader in the VIP. So grab that link and come in, step out of the boat. Don't keep sitting in the boat watching everybody else. Step out of the boat and get in the Zoom with us. We're going to start it in just a few minutes. As soon as I'm off here, you have a link in your email. You have a passcode that will get you into that Zoom call, and we're going to just go over this together. If you need prayer, I will pray over you. Okay? Pray with you. And then tomorrow, I'm going to be back here at 9 a.m. live. Again, same group. I'm going to post this replays in the guides tab. If you are at work, I totally get it. And you're like, I want to step out of the boat, but I can't make the Zoom because I'm at work. I totally understand, you guys. I get it. So just message, like, put that in the comments too. Like, I'm all in. I'm at work and I can't be in the Zoom with you. But tomorrow we're going to do another Zoom. And then the next day we're going to do another Zoom right after, so that we can just kind of go through this and work it out for you, what that looks like for your healing, for your everything. It has been awesome to be with you guys today. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up for you. And thank you for showing up for me. Okay. This is, like I said, this is a two-way thing. I need you just as much as you need me right now. I am doing this because it's stepping out of the boat. And I appreciate you so very much stepping out with me and showing up. Thank you for showing up today. I will see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here in the same Facebook group. Replays will be available, but they will only be available until Sunday, this coming Sunday. Why? Because I don't want you to sit in the boat that long. All right, we got to get shift done, or make shift happen around here. All right, if you're with me, comment, make shift happen. Make shift happen. Put it in the comments. Make shift happen. All right. We're not going to do it by just sitting here listening to all the nice fancy words. You're going to make shift happen. Get those replays watched before Sunday. Watch them over and over. You know what I do, you guys, is I get out of the shower and I play them on my phone of people that I know. I listened to a message today from a guy named Rex Crane. I think I listened to it probably 43 times in the last 2 days. I just wanted to hear it and hear it and hear it and hear it again. Make it happen. Love you guys. Thanks for being on here. Can't wait to be with you in the Zoom call right after this and also tomorrow. Bye.